In August 2023, social media platforms refused to censor calls to kill the Boer, an anti-white slogan from South Africa. Songs and other posts reciting "Kill the Boer" were not censored for hate speech or prejudice. Black nationalist anthems have played at sporting events in the United States throughout the month of September 2023, after the National Football League announced the Black National Anthem to be played at all top games in 2021. On August 1st, Talia Willis, a 19-year-old white girl of Albuquerque, New Mexico, was shot by her black boyfriend Michael Lewis Robinson. Communists and Marxists were quick to point to gun violence for the death of Talia, when it appears to have been a pattern of violence for Michael Lewis Robinson. Lewis Robinson told detectives that relatives were at his apartment, located at 4630 12th Street, NW, for a family gathering on the night of July 31, 2023. Lewis Robinson said they drank alcohol and smoked marijuana, and after family members left, around 1 a.m. on August 1st, he and Wills got into a verbal argument. Marijuana can cause mood swings and paranoia. Despite this, the American federal government and many liberal factions continue to push for its social acceptance. The argument escalated, and Lewis Robinson said he went to a bedroom and slammed the door in Wills' face. He said he told Wills, "Don't make me go grab this," as he referred to his gun. He grabbed a black Nautica bag that he uses to carry his firearm. Lewis Robinson said he exited the room, cussed at Wills, unzipped the bag and pulled the gun out. He told detectives he intended to scare Wills by pointing the gun at her. Why he would want to scare the mother of his child is unclear. He then fired the gun and placed the gun on the floor. He ran downstairs to request help from neighbors. Lewis Robinson and Wills had a baby together, and the baby was located, unharmed, inside a playpen within the apartment. Also on August 1st, 42-year-old Nicholas Ledbetter of Cincinnati, Ohio, was shot by 23-year-old black Brandon Dodson. Ledbetter was Dodson's second murder. In June, Dodson purposely caused the death of homeless white man Douglas Lee Palmer Jr. by shooting him inside a home in the 5100 block of Hunter Avenue on May 29th, Norwood police wrote in court records. Palmer, 26, was shot in the chest around 1 a.m., according to an incident report. He was pronounced dead at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. Dodson fled to Tennessee, where he was captured. On August 2nd, an altercation between a friend of 19-year-old white boy Paris Allen of Duluth, Minnesota, and Sanusi Tamsa Bangura, a 21-year-old black potentially Somalian man, and 25-year-old black man Brandon Williams Gillard. The criminal complaint said that the two were in Bangura's car when they saw someone they have a contentious history with. The man reportedly suggests they boxed down the block. He went and got his friends, and then the two groups ended up on the 2500 block of West 2nd Street as he was too cowardly to engage in a fight alone. That's where one man threw a punch through the car window. The complaint said Bangura then reached out of the driver's side window with a handgun and fired multiple shots at the group. One man was hit in the backside and was taken to the hospital. Another man suffered a shot to the head and was also rushed to the hospital. He did not survive. This was Paris Allen. After the shooting, the complaint said the two suspects went to Firestone and then split up. One then went to the mall and the other went to Quick Trip. So after a murder, their thoughts turned to shopping instead of penance or grief or guilt. Then there was another shots fired incident near Bangura's home on the 3900 block of West 4th Street, but no one reported any injuries. Paris Allen's family has set up a GoFundMe if anyone is interested in donating. On August 2nd, 71-year-old white woman Elaine Murray of West Windsor Township, New Jersey, had her home broken into by 24-year-old black man Denzel Whitmore, who beat her to death. The victim, 71-year-old Elaine Murray, was found dead in her home on Galston Drive in West Windsor Township. The prosecutor's office said neighbors went to the home for a well-being check just after 8 p.m. Wednesday. That's when they noticed evidence of a break-in. Police arrived and found Murray on the floor of a second-floor bedroom. Prosecutors say she appeared to have visible signs of injuries to the face and she was bleeding from the back of her head. Why would a 24-year-old beat a defenseless 71-year-old white woman to death? Also on August 2nd, 46-year-old white man Philip Kuhn of Omaha, Nebraska, was shot in the face twice and left for dead in Benson Park. Think of all the families who look forward to bringing their children to parks every day. Now that park is forever marked as the place of a brutal murder. 41-year-old black man Lovell Cutler was arrested. In court, his bond was set at $2 million. Cutler also waived his right to a preliminary hearing, so the case has been sent to district court for trial. After being given his Miranda rights, Cutler allegedly made incriminating statements, which included saying he shot Coon twice and discarded evidence, according to the affidavit. Cutler is already a convicted felon stemming from a domestic violence case in 2020. Despite this, Cutler was permitted to roam the streets. Building new prisons and enforcing punishment times have become dirty words in the American criminal justice world. On August 4th, 18-year-old white boy Deacon Graham of Piqua, Ohio, was killed by 19-year-old black man Corey Miller, who is still in high school. Graham had been shot 3 times in a public park, Fountain Park, and one of his friends had also been shot in the same park. Graham was a new father. Along with his parents, he is survived by his son, Cambren Joseph Graham, his stepfather, Adam Bushmere of Piqua, his stepmother, Alex Browning of Round Rock, Texas, his grandparents, Angie and Tony Grooms of Fletcher, Jim Graham and Robin Perkins of Piqua, William and Barbara Browning, Jr. of Syracuse, New York, Walter and Pam Bushmere of Medway, Massachusetts, his great-grandparents, Frank and Lynn Branson of Piqua, Carolyn and Michael Gray of Houston, his brother, William Browning IV of Round Rock, Texas, and numerous aunts, uncles, cousins and friends. Deacon was a 2023 graduate of Piqua High School. He worked as a line cook for Red Lobster. He was a past member of the Boy Scouts of America and stayed active with the YMCA. He loved the outdoors, where he enjoyed racing BMX, kayaking and camping with his family. He enjoyed trying new things and spent the effort to make a stop-motion film. Most importantly, he enjoyed spending time with his family and many friends. He will be deeply missed by many. White 26-year-old Gene Butchart was the treasured youngest child in a family that includes his 2 sisters, Rose and Maureen. From an early age, his love of the natural world was evident, and he harnessed this in his education, earning a Bachelor of Science degree in Environmental Studies with an emphasis on hydrology. He was excited to put his education to use in Savannah, Georgia, where he used Geographical Information Systems, GIS, to map water bodies and water drainage, and literally opened the floodgates to perform water management. His love of the natural world extended to a love of camping, foraging, gardening, and mushroom hunting, earning him the affectionate nickname Nature Boy among his many friends. Gene's empathy for others showed in innumerable ways, from the beautiful gifts he crafted for his family, the many spontaneous acts of generosity he performed for his friends, to the generous practical support and wisdom he shared. He was in the midst of combining his love of the natural world and his empathy for others, training to become a teacher. He had a special gift and love for educating middle schoolers and high schoolers, where his quick wit and wonderful sense of humor would no doubt have served him well. He was killed in an unprovoked attack of a violent rampage by a black man, Matthew Torrey Tiggs Jr., who attacked 2 other people during a crime spree in Michigan that lasted 10 days. It is an understatement to say that these cases are extremely unsettling, Prosecutor Kim Worthy said in a statement. The defendant allegedly terrorized members of this community in a series of very violent events. We will continue to work hard to bring the victims and their families justice. The first incident occurred around 11:30 a.m. Friday, July 28, in the 30 block of Birch Drive in Van Buren Township. It is alleged that there was an argument between Tiggs and the 45-year-old victim. The situation escalated and Tiggs allegedly produced a firearm and pointed it at the man before fleeing the scene. The final incident happened around 11:44 a.m. on Sunday, August 6, in the 40 block of Birch Drive in Van Buren Township. Police officers were dispatched to a residence for a reported shooting. Upon arrival, officers found the 47-year-old victim suffering from gunshot wounds to the right upper arm and lower back. He was transported to a local hospital. It is alleged that Tiggs approached the victim while he was in his vehicle and produced and fired a handgun multiple times, wounding the victim. The defendant then allegedly barricaded himself inside the next-door residence. On August 6th, 29-year-old white woman Alyssa Leonard of Phoenix, Arizona was killed by 21-year-old black man Kwame Kyle Wilson, who shot his fiancée in a fit of road rage. Wilson was on release for armed robbery at the time of the shooting, but Leonard had remained with this violent man. On August 7th, 32-year-old white man Christopher Vidalier of Kaplan, Louisiana was shot by a family member of his ex-girlfriend. 23-year-old black woman Laquiandra St. Julian had an ongoing feud with Vidalier and became obsessed with him. A father's worst nightmare becomes a reality after his son, police identified as 32-year-old Christopher Vidalier, was shot and killed on East Sami Kurashaw Avenue in Kaplan. I was in my bedroom, me and fiancé right by the window standing up, John Vidalier Sr., Christopher Vidalier's father, said. I didn't even know my son had driven up from work yet, but all of a sudden, I heard a gun right by my window. I took off, and I came running out my door. My son came cutting the house off the corner right there. He explained his son fell over half on the steps and half on the porch and died right in front of him. His final words to me were, "Daddy, she shot me," and called the ambulance. John Vidalier Sr. said. He leaves behind 3 children under the age of 4. On August 10th, 31-year-old white man Gregory Ray Dillon of Dayton, Ohio, was shot and killed by 18-year-old black man LaShawn Lee Jones. Dillon had complained about Jones' unsecured dangerous dogs in the neighborhood, and for this concern for public safety, he was shot. Ever since he was a young boy, Greg has always walked his own path. In his free time, he enjoyed walking trails, reading, and listening to music. Classical was one of his favorites. Greg enjoyed spending time with friends, family, and having meaningful conversations. He was so proud of his son Dyson and was focused on how to build a better life for them both. He had just begun working in the tree service industry. Greg was dedicated and loyal to those he loved. He was naturally inquisitive, very intelligent, and he loved to learn about a variety of topics. He was outgoing, resilient, and advocated his thoughts and beliefs. Greg would always research things before making any important life decisions. He adored the time spent with his family and will be greatly missed by everyone who knew and loved him. On August 14th was a double homicide. 10-year-old white girl child Aubrey Croteau and her grandmother, 52-year-old white woman Kim Marie Fairbanks, were shot and killed by their 34-year-old black neighbor Victor Nieves, who shot them and then killed himself. Nieves may have been a tenant in the home Fairbanks shared. Charles Ray Brooks Jr., CJ, passed away on Wednesday, August 16, 2023, at the age of 23 years old. The white man was born in Vicksburg, Mississippi on November 28, 1999. CJ enjoyed hunting, fishing, mud riding, and hanging out with his friends. He loved his family. He will be greatly missed. He is preceded in death by his grandfathers, Charles Brooks, Lloyd Palmer, Robert Gladwell, and John Hartley, grandmother, Janice Brooks. He is survived by his parents, Charles Ray and Carol Palmer Brooks, daughter, Aria Evelyn Brooks, brothers, Michael Brooks and Nicholas Brooks, sister, Courtney Stump and Candy Brooks, grandmother, Betty Palmer, nieces and nephews, Hayden Brooks, Chloe Brooks, Sienna, Kayloni, Athena, and River Brooks. He was shot in the head by 17-year-old black man Xavier Weddington, who was charged only with second-degree murder. 2 people are in police custody after a deadly shooting outside Warsaw Village Shopping Center in Virginia. The Richmond County Sheriff's Office said James Anthony Benjamin Barnes was arrested in South Carolina and charged with second-degree murder. A female passenger, who has not been identified, was also arrested. She has not yet been charged. Both vehicles were traveling west on Route 360 around the intersection at Hardee's. The Richmond County Sheriff's Office says a black suspect in a white GMC fired into a black car, hitting a white woman sitting in the back. One of the individuals had pulled over right before the Downing Bridge and waited there for medical at the time, Sheriff Steve Smith of Richmond County said. Police say the woman shot later died after being taken to VCU Medical Center. It's not clear if the blacks took firearms from their parents or relatives to commit this crime. On August 18th, beloved Uncle White Man Donnell Benya, a 57-year-old in Baltimore, Maryland, was shot to death attempting to stop his nephew's car from being carjacked. 3 black males were described as the suspects and each got away. Tyree said it was 3 men, all wearing ski masks in the middle of summer. Public bans on ski masks have been discussed by various politicians, but not by Maryland's black governor Wes Moore. 1 black was sitting in a black Hyundai Elantra as the other 2 took his belongings. When one of those men then got in his Dodge Charger, he saw his uncle come out with a BB gun. That's when the shots started going off. It was 4 shots in total. I ducked off into the alley. 3 more went off after that. That's when they caught him in the head, and he took off in my car, Tyree said. The close-knit family said the ordeal was a nightmare. They want to see the three men caught. They also called for more action from the city to protect its residents from incidents like this. Justice needs to be served. It needs to be. That was cold-blooded. He didn't deserve that at all. Nobody deserves that at all. The people running this city, they're failing us. They really are. They're failing everybody. This shouldn't have happened, said Benier's niece, Crystal Worley. On August 21st, a 20-year-old black man Jekirin Walker said a 41-year-old white man Stefan Volkman called him slurs and that justified shooting and killing him in Marion, Texas. Walker was begging Volkman for money outside a San Antonio gas station and yet had a gun on him he could have sold for money. Walker told reporters he had no regrets and Volkman was racist, with no evidence, and thus his death was justified. Volkman's family has organized a fundraiser on GoFundMe if you are interested. On August 22nd, a young white wife, 20-year-old Avril Hooks of Lynchburg, Virginia, was shot and killed by her black husband Michael L. Perry III, 21 years old. On August 26th, 27-year-old white man David Millett was done working a long day at Midwood Smokehouse. He was punched repeatedly by Tyrell Jaru Moore, a 23-year-old black man, and succumbed to his injuries. This is one of many cases which show how important it is to know self-defense and learn firearm safety. David, or Davy, as his family lovingly calls him, was brutally assaulted in Raleigh, North Carolina, on August 26th. He fought so hard to live, but ultimately succumbed to his injuries on September 1st, 2023. He leaves behind his parents, sister, nephews, and girlfriend. He will also be greatly missed by extended family, countless friends, and the restaurant community in which he had an immeasurable impact. David had an infectious energy. He could make anyone's day better, whether it was through his big smile, a funny joke, a thoughtful gesture, or by teasing you until you laughed heartily. He truly had a heart of gold and aimed to please everyone. Stories surrounding his selflessness have continued to pour in since the news of his passing. His zest for life knew no limits, and the void his sudden absence leaves behind has left us all short of breath. The money raised will be used for funeral expenses, medical bills, as well as basic necessities for his unborn child. All credit to the reporting done by the 1351 Project.